Tonight, let's go on a little journey. We're headed to a place you've probably seen 1,000 times, but maybe haven't really gotten to know. Our own moon. It's so much more than just a light in the dark. It's a whole other world, and we're going to explore it together.
I mean, think about it. You've seen it your whole life, right? But have you ever really stopped, looked up, and wondered, what am I actually looking at? Because I promise you, once you know what to look for, that familiar sight completely transforms. It becomes one of the most incredible landscapes you can explore. And you can do it right from your own backyard.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to start with the absolute basics. Let's build our understanding of our closest celestial neighbor from the ground up. So, first things first, and this is a big one, the moon doesn't actually create its own light. Not a single bit. You can think of it as a giant dusty mirror hanging in space. That beautiful silvery glow we see at night, that's just borrowed light. It's sunshine bouncing off the moon's rocky surface and traveling all the way back to us here on Earth.
And how far away is this giant space mirror? Well, on average, it's about 384,000 kilometers away. Now, that sounds like a crazy huge number, but in the grand scheme of the universe, that's practically right next door. And it's this closeness, this neighborly distance, that lets us see so much amazing detail. All right, let's tackle the first big mystery every new stargazer bumps into. Why does the moon seem to change its shape every night? One night it's a perfect, brilliant circle, and then a few nights later it's just a tiny little sliver. What is going on up there?
It really just comes down to our point of view. Imagine you're in a completely dark room with one lamp, and you're walking around a ball. Depending on where you stand, you'll see different parts of that ball lit up by the lamp. That is exactly what's happening with the moon. The moon itself is always a round sphere, but as it orbits the Earth, we see different amounts of the side that's being lit by the sun. It's this beautiful, silent dance in the sky.
And this dance, it follows a very predictable rhythm. It all starts with the new moon, which is when it's basically invisible to us. Then it waxes, which is just a fancy word for grows, through the crescent, the first quarter, and the gibbous phases, all the way up until it's a spectacular full moon. After that, it starts to wane or shrink, back through the same phases in reverse until it disappears again, ready to start all over.
And this whole show, this complete cycle from one new moon to the next, takes about 29.5 days. And fun fact, this is actually where we got our original concept of a month. So now that we get why it changes shape, let's zoom in a little closer and talk about the surface itself. Those dark and light patches you can see, even with just your eyes? They're not just random splotches. They are ancient, massive features, and each one has an incredible story to tell. Okay, so what are those shapes? The ones that some people say look like a face, or maybe a rabbit? Well, the dark, smooth areas are called maria. That's Latin for seas, because early astronomers literally thought they were oceans. They're actually huge, flat plains of solidified lava from ancient volcanoes. And the brighter, more rugged-looking parts? Those are the highlands. They're older, they're more mountainous, and they're absolutely covered in craters from billions of years of impacts. All right, you ready for a secret? I'm going to let you in on something that will completely change how you look at the moon from now on. And the best part is, it has nothing to do with buying a bigger, more expensive telescope. Nope, it's all about when you choose to look. Now, you'd think the full moon would be the absolute best time to look, wouldn't you? It's big, it's bright, but surprisingly, it's one of the worst times. When the sun is shining straight down on it, it's like using a camera flash. It just washes out all the texture and detail. The real magic happens along something called the terminator. That's the line between day and night on the moon's surface. Right there, the low-angle sunlight casts these long, dramatic shadows that make craters and mountains just leap out in stunning 3D. It's a total game changer. So how can you become a moon gazer, like tonight? Well, the great news is you really don't need much to get started. Let's break down what you can see with whatever you might already have handy. Seriously, you don't need fancy gear to be an astronomer. With just your eyes, you can easily track the phases and spot those big, dark maria. If you have a simple pair of binoculars lying around, grab them. Suddenly, you'll be able to see major craters and the rugged texture of the surface. And if you have access to even a small telescope, that opens up a whole new universe of detail. You'll see mountain ranges, tiny little craterlets, and that incredible, ever-shifting dance of light and shadow along the terminator.
But hey, the moon isn't just a pretty sight. It's a really fundamental part of our world. It influences our planet in ways we often just take for granted. So why does it actually matter so much?
Well, for starters, its gravity is the main reason we have ocean tides. It also acts like a cosmic stabilizer for Earth, keeping our planet from wobbling too much on its axis. That stability has been absolutely crucial for creating a climate where life could flourish. And of course, it was our very first stepping stone into the rest of the cosmos. For us amateur astronomers, the moon kind of has a dual personality. It's an incredible friend because it is one of the most rewarding things you can look at, just packed with detail. But it can also be a foe. A bright full moon is basically a giant source of natural light pollution. It can completely wash out faint deep sky objects like faraway galaxies and nebula. That's why smart stargazers always plan their observing sessions around the moon's phases. So hopefully the next time you see the moon hanging up there in the sky, you'll see it a little differently. Not just as a familiar light, but as a dynamic, rugged, and beautiful world with an ancient story to tell. So tonight, or the next clear night you get, just do me a favor. Go outside, look up, and see what new wonders you can discover for yourself.